Okay, a little chilly here. I called the ball this morning, but what I want to do is go over the FRQs and break them down for you as best as possible. Okay, so there was a natural monopoly, and I'll go through the point by point. The first point was profit maximizer, quantity and price. So you would take where MC equals MR, which is here on, I would call it the purple, up to demand, AR, because that's average revenue, down to Q, that's quantity. So you got 1 point if you went up to the AR, and you had the second point if you went down to quantity. And I forgot what they asked you to label it, but those were the two. Then they wanted you to do the profit box. So here you take the line where on the profit maximizing line where it hits demand, you bring it down to the ATC and across, and this purple box with the lines drawn in is the profit box. That was, I think, point 3. What quantity will earn zero economic profit? You just went where ATC crosses demand down there, and that was another point. That might have been point 4. Okay, suppose instead allocatively efficient. All right, allocatively efficient is MC crosses demand. That would be 0.5. And they asked you under what conditions. So since MC hits demand is below ATC, you're losing money. Okay, so suppose instead allocatively efficient when MC crosses demand, it's below ATC, you're losing money. So the only conditions a monopoly would do that is if they got subsidized. Okay, now I'm going to go back here. You got a point for just a downward sloping demand and a downward sloping MO. Okay, you also got a point if you had a downward sloping ATC with MC underneath. A couple of you guys had the ATC downward sloping, but the MC going up. Now that's impossible. If the marginal cost is greater than the average, so if the average is 7 and the additional unit is 10, that's going to bring up the average. So it couldn't be downward sloping. So you had to have an ATC and an MC downward sloping. So let me try to review this. I believe it was 9 points. You got downward sloping demand and MR, 0.1. You got profit maximizer, where MC crosses MR up to demand, 0.2. You got MC equals MR down to Q, 0.3. You had the profit box, where MC equals MR up to demand, down to the ATC, the purple box, 0.4. You had a downward sloping ATC and MC below the ATC. It didn't have to be downward sloping. It had to be below the 0.5. And then you had where ATC hits demand 0.6. And I think there were 7 points there. I must be missing something. So then suppose instead of allocatively efficient doesn't earn economic profit, allocative efficiency doesn't earn economic profit because MC, the price, would be below the ATC, and then you got the subsidy. Okay, so that was the first FRQ. And I would say, I think only one person didn't get downward sloping D and MR. A couple of guys didn't get the ACMC because they had the MC upward sloping. Okay. And you guys did a really good job on what quantity will earn zero economic profit where ATC crosses demand. All right, the second is they gave you a bunch of information and they asked you what was the quantity demand up. They asked you if Demand elasticity was 0.85, and there was a 10% change in price. What direction and what would quantity demand? So the formula is quantity demanded equals change in quantity demand over change in price. So they gave you the quantity demand elasticity was 0.85 equals X divided by 0.1. When you cross multiply, it gets to 8.5%. Now, you know if the price went up 10%, quantity demanded has to go down. That's the law of demand. So it decreases by 8.5%. Now, one of the ways to kind of just check that you did it kind of right is that if you know 0.85 is less than 1, so it's inelastic. So if price is going up 10%, quantity demanded has to go down less than 10%, and it's 8.5. Okay. Short run elastic. All right, this is something I did a bad job teaching, and I'll have to go over it a couple of times during the course, even when we're going through macro, just to review. Short run price elasticity. All right, is less elastic. This says more. Short run price elasticity is less elastic. It's inelastic, usually in the short run, or less elastic, because you have less time to find substitutes. You know, you think of gas. If gas prices go up tomorrow, I got to drive to school. I got to go to work. You know, I got to do my shopping. I got to do things. It's inelastic. However, in the long run, I could buy a hybrid. I could buy an electric car. I could carpool. Maybe I buy a bike and bike to work, and all these other things. So the long run is more elastic because there are more substitutes. All right. Then they said elasticity is 3.2 in the long run, which means it is elastic, right? Because it's greater than 1. If price increases, total revenue decreases. All right. And the reason for that will be price will increase less than quantity demanded will decrease. That's what elasticity means, that it's very sensitive to the change in price. So if price goes up 10%, quantity demanded is going to go down more than 10%, and that's why total revenue will decrease. So you had to, have price increases, total revenue decreases, and then you had to explain that the price will increase less than the quantity demanded will decrease. And then they gave you the income elasticity, and it was a positive number. And they asked you, is it a normal good? And the way to say it's a normal good was, that income elasticity, when it is positive, is a normal good. All right. I think I skipped here. So price of and I can't exactly remember this, but you had to draw a leftward supply demand curve. Sorry, I forgot the situation there. All right. So then they gave you like the price elasticity of supply. Is it greater than 1, less than 1, or 0? Well, first of all, elasticity is greater than 1. So you should know just elasticity is greater than 1. So, but this is perfect elasticity. It's infinite. So it is greater than 1. Okay. Then, and I don't have these exact numbers on this graph, but it was like they wanted you to figure out consumer surplus. And the price was 6 in the top. So the height was 4, 10 minus 6. The base was 80. So it's 4 times 80 is 320 divided by 2. Half base times height. So again, the height was 10. The price was 6. So you got, so you got 4, 10 minus 6 gives you 4 times 80 is 320 divided by 2 is 160. So there was the point for that. So now suppose the government imposes a $1 unit tax. So from S, test plus tax is $1. What happens to total revenue? Okay, total revenue decreases. And the reason why is that extra dollar that they're charging the customer, the producer doesn't get. They send that dollar to the government. So the producer is getting the same price, $6, but they're getting a less quantity, right? Because they used to get QE, now they're getting QT. So they're not getting any additional funds and they're producing less. All right. So that would be the total revenue. Now, producer surplus is the same. You know, like if you look at PE, remember producer surplus is below the price above supply. Well, the price and supply are the same. So there's no like below the price above supply. Producer surplus is zero in both situations. All right, so it stays the same. Now, total surplus. I will say, again, this is something that I will go over more. I probably said it once, and that's not enough because I said it when we probably did excise tax. So consumer surplus is above the PD, below demand. All right. And there is no consumer surplus. And then you have buyer loss, or you have tax revenue box in here. Okay. And then you have deadweight loss. Anytime you have deadweight loss, total surplus is going to decrease, right? Because, and let me just mark this up a little here because it'll make it easier for you. And a consumer surplus originally was this box, right? That whole big box. And now after the tax, it's just this. There is no producer surplus. So the deadweight loss cut out. All right. Now, just so if you answered like deadweight loss is the reason total surplus decreased, you got the point. Now, let me just say, total surplus here equals consumer surplus plus producer surplus, which was zero, right? So that doesn't really change, plus tax revenue. So tax revenue is in total surplus. The only thing taken out is deadweight loss, okay? Now, I will grant you, I did not do a good job talking about tax revenue as part of total surplus. And as we graph, continue to graph during the course of macro to review, I will do a better job going over that. So, you know, I would really take responsibility for you guys not getting that point, but I still think you could have got it by knowing that total surplus decreased because of deadweight loss. Okay. All right, I think that is pretty much a wrap. We really struggled in this one. I think, I'll be honest, I was a little surprised here because a lot of people didn't draw the natural monopoly graph correctly. And by the way, if you had an upper sloping MC, when MC crosses demand, it hurts you because then you're making profit and you shouldn't be in a natural monopoly. But people got the profit maximizers very strong. People got the profit box really strong. People got the AC crossing demand really strong. So there's a lot of good parts there. In this one, some people really struggled with income elasticity, not just realizing that if it was a positive number, it was a normal good. And people really struggled with the short run to long run, why it's more elastic. And again, I would take blame on that. I remember saying the gas type example a couple of times, but obviously I didn't say it enough because we really struggled and I needed to do a better job on that. Okay, I think most people had this leftward demand shift, and I think it was either based on a complement or a substitute good. People like here, people did know the price elasticity of supply would be greater than one. The consumer surplus, figuring out half times base times height, people did a good job on. Now, what happens to total revenue? A lot of guys said total revenue decreased. Some people said it decreased because it's in the elastic part of the curve. I'm pretty sure I gave you the point for that because in elasticity, if price goes up, total revenue goes down. So that makes sense. The producer surplus, that was one that people, I would say 50-50 with the same. And then total surplus, probably 50-50 too. All right, thank you very much. Have a great day.